This week's Torah portion takes place at one of the most pivotal days of the year. It is the 8th day of the inauguration services. The Mishkan, the tabernacle, the structure that was going to hold the divine presence is finally inaugurated. This is the 8th day, the final day, the day that the divine presence rested. The holiest day, if you will. And at this day, you can imagine the excitement. Crowds around. On this day, the sons of Aaron offered a sacrifice of incense, and in the period of doing that, died. You can imagine the shift of emotions for everybody. A day of such joy and the death of two of the holiest people. And their death is so confusing because you would think they were punished. But when Moses speaks to Aaron, he says, I thought God was going to, so to speak, sanctify this using the most righteous people, but Krovai Kadesh, and I thought it was me or you. Something was going to either happen to us or it would be through us, but clearly what happened here was with your children. They must be holier than us. The commentators tell us that the way they died was this concept called neshika, this highest level of of death, where really the soul just comes out. So what was it? What was going on? Were they punished? What happened in there? So I want to share with you a concept from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's a brilliant concept in life. The concept is called in Hebrew Ratzah V'Shav. Ratzah means to strive, to yearn, to reach, to ascend, and V'Shav is to come back, to settle. Picture life like a fire in a wick. The fire is always reaching up. If you look at a candle, it's almost like you're watching the fire trying to break free of the wick, and the wick is bringing it down. We have a body and a soul. The soul is a piece of the divine. It's always reaching up. It wants meaning and depth. It wants to ascend to a place of spirituality. You look at somebody with no depth or meaning. They may have everything on the surface, but they feel something is missing. It's because we're born with the soul, and if you don't satisfy that soul, you're not going to live a very satisfied life. But we're also born with a body. We live in this world. We have human needs. The candle and the wick, the body and the soul. Ratzah, striving, V'Shav, bringing it back. And the goal of life is to give yourself time and expression to strive. When you feel inspiration, don't just squash it. You let it manifest. You take on more. You reach higher. You go deeper. You become more spiritual. You take on more. But at the same time, in the moments of that connection, it shouldn't disappear. It has to be brought down into this world. It's to elevate the physical. That's what God wants. Striving for spiritual and then elevating the physical. What happened in that moment was that possibly what happened was that this was the first real moment where the divine presence was in a structure. And here you have two of the holiest people in the Jewish people doing one of the holiest sacrifices in one of the holiest places at one of the holiest times. They ascended to a place of spiritual ecstasy that they probably never experienced before. And their souls were in such incredible space that they maybe never wanted to come back. Lubavitcher Rebbe was, in his piece, was explaining that what could have happened was they reached the highest level of ratzah, of striving, to the point in which they broke the cycle of returning. And so their souls cleaved so deeply to the divine that it just stayed up there. And the lesson for us is that we have to allow our souls to ascend. We have to give ourselves time to be inspired and to be connected. We can't live lives that is so filled with mundane that we never really connect. We got to take that connection and use it to elevate our physical life, to make our day-to-day life more meaningful, and then aspire again, and then connect. We can never live lives of no connection, but we also can never live lives where those moments of spirituality just stay up there. We get inspired and then it just dissipates and we go back to ourselves. Then we get inspired and it just dissipates and it goes back to ourselves. Fire without the wick just dissipates. We got to take the fire that we feel and attach it to a wick, and Ratza Vashav, and Ratza Vashav. Aspire and elevate, aspire and elevate. That's the job in this world. Our job in this world is to aspire, to ascend, to be spiritual, but then to use it to elevate our daily life. Maybe that's the sacrifice, and that's the avodah, the work that God truly desires from us right now.